Welcome to our online training. This section, the topic we are going to discuss is entitled Bringing Up Children in the Fear of God. We will begin this subject by looking at the introduction to the topic, and then we look at raising godly children in marriage, and then we move on to how to train a child, and then bitterness in children. All these things we are going to discuss in this meeting. So we'll begin with the introduction. Now we will start by saying that children are an award from God and must be trained to have the fear of God in them. And that is very important. As to how children come by in our life, we have no clue or idea to that. But it's an award from God. God can choose to give a child, or he can choose not to. So we should have in mind that children are an award from God, and therefore we should treat them as such. And then we will also have to know that we have to pray for them. We have to pray for them and tell God, if you aren't able to raise the children in him or in his fear, then we need to let God know what exactly the problem is. We need to be sincere with God, because we earlier said children are an award from God. And then we should let them know, the children know, that God is always listening to them and their problems. And therefore, God can help them without them knowing. God is always close to them. When they talk, when they pray, God is so keen about taking care of them. And then it is also an important thing to bring God into every conversation that as a parent you would have with your children. Let the children be aware that in all they do, it is by God's mercies and God's grace, so that they will know that it's not their efforts. Now I want to look at how we can raise godly children in our marriage. Since marriage is a union between a man and a woman, so all that a man can do is to impregnate a woman by having love affair with her. As to how that produces children, it's a mystery, and therefore the purpose for which God brought us together is to raise the children. Now children often model the character of their parents, and therefore as parents we must also model godliness, because the children will look up to their parents, how they behave. That is what will model their life, and therefore parents must also model some godliness, some amount of good living, so that it can reflect in the life of the children. Now parents, on the other hand, must also be able to must be people of character if they are going to raise godly children. They must be people with good character, because your character is what is going to model your children. So character is very important in the life of the marriage and then the children. So children raised in a loving home, example, by parents with character, typically mimic the virtues demonstrated by their parents. So like we said earlier, the character is what the children will definitely pick. How the home will be is how the children will be. So if you raise them in a loving home, then automatically they will also have the virtue of love in them as they grow. Now, in the same way, parents who are not around and lack self-control in their speech or in their actions, or with anger, produce the same character in the children with that effect. So if parents are not always around with the children, that is what the children will know. If parents lack self-control, that is what the children will know, especially in their speech, or they easily get angered in their speech. Definitely this same character will be in their children, and therefore the children will always speak in anger and not have any kind of love in them. So in raising godly children, we need to bear such things in mind. And also as a parent, our speech must always match the actions, because mostly children look up to the actions, not speech. So if you speak to your children and your actions is different, definitely it is going to be the same way. They will look at your actions, and then they will not look at your speech. If you say, oh, read, and you are always on the phone, that is what the children will see. The children will definitely pick up and will always be on the phone. But if, as a parent, you like reading, always holding book and reading, if you tell the child to read the book, that's what he knows. He would also learn that. Now, many children fall away from God altogether because of the hypocrisy seen in their homes. Yes, there are most hypocrites families. They are living a different life and they are talking a different thing, preaching differently, and then different actions. So definitely this can affect the children. They will fall away from God if there is a hypocrisy. If the father can preach well, the father can talk, but in certain actions is different, and therefore these things can be seen as hypocrisy. Now we want to look at how we can train a child. First thing we can help us to train a child is the Word of God. Now we need to have times of morning or nightly devotions with kids if possible, and where we read the Word of God and discuss with prayer. So it's important that we try to teach the children with the Word of God, because our world, most children believe there is God, and therefore we need to let them know through these kind of devotions. At least if you can't do every day and weekends, it's possible, it's good to do that so that they will know. We also need to, as parents, wisely lead them to recognize sin, and that is the need for the gospel. So we need to teach them what is sin, what is wrong, what is right. We need to let them know, sometimes best through the word. So we quote verses that speaks against sin, that talks about sin and how they can stop it, the consequences. Then they would know what we mean. Now, parents should also encourage the children to pray to God and seek His wisdom as they mature and take decisions in life. It's very important that as parents we should encourage the children so that they will seek God's wisdom. They should know that all wisdom comes from God, and therefore they should pray for it, because as they begin to take decisions in life, they need to know that they need to seek God's guidance in every decision they make. And therefore we should also saturate the home with God's word, as well as practice the truth in it. So the parent should not lead a different life and expect the children to live a good life, but we should let truth be the center of the home. Then, how to train our children. Now, in training our children, the first thing we need to know is discipline. Discipline is the key, and therefore discipline is the key to raising godly children. That is it. If you leave them, they will go astray. So we need discipline. Now, the word discipline means that you train to act in accordance with rules. So you bring up the children to accept that we live with rules and norms. We don't live in isolation. Don't do what you like. So the discipline is to train so that they will live in accordance with what? The rules. There should be rules. It also means that the activities or exercise or regimen that develops and improves their skills. So discipline is actions that we put in place to make sure that the child improves his skills. That is it. So It's not only about just rules, but also certain things you put in place so that they will know. And then it also means that punishment inflicted by way of correction or training. So punishment by way of correction. So you want to correct them. That means you are disciplining them. Now, but unfortunately, it has a negative connotation which shouldn't. And therefore, it's very important because training can have some negative. And therefore, it must be done and done at the right and in the right time. Now, so we have non-punitive disciplines. We want to look at non-punitive disciplines. Now, when you say non-punitive disciplines, then we are looking at areas where a parent initiates various non-punitive disciplines that will encourage righteousness in their children, such as you make the child participate in sports, or not only to gain broad experiences, but to develop character traits such as patience, teamwork, and humility. So we use these non-punitive disciplines as a means of raising the righteousness in the children, letting the children know what is right, not by using punishment, by using non-punitive disciplines. And he made example, like you can let your child take part in sports as a way of discipline, getting discipline, to gain broad experiences, to develop character, has patience. You can play and you can hurt. It is endurance. You get tired. People will be able to learn. It's a teamwork. It's humility. All these things are called disciplines. You are getting yourself disciplined for life, but they are not punitive disciplines. And then also tell the child not to go outside until he or she has read a book for an hour. So if the child's interest is to go out and play with friends, then the child should be made aware. Until you go out, you read a book. And so that one is not punitive. It's a form of discipline. You are disciplining the child to understand that it's important to read books, but you are using it as a means of punishment. So if you want to play, then read a book. Now, they can also be given family course in the family business to learn how to work hard, also how to manage time, and learn the value of money with earned allowance. So that is it. So if there is a family business, it could be a farm, it could be a small shop. Yes, the children can be given some aspect. Let's say you clean the floor. Instead of getting somebody from outside to clean, you can be allowed to clean the floor, and then they earn something. So as they clean and work, they would appreciate how to work hard, how they can manage their time, and then the value of money, how to work hard to earn money. So these are non-punitive ways we can discipline our children or make them get disciplined in life as they grow. Also, we can limit. Another way is limiting a time, like the child's time, video games, internet, TVs, or staying up late. All these things are ways we can discipline the children. You don't stay up to 8 o'clock on TV. You don't play video games around this time. All these things, you want them to discipline themselves. It is what they like, but you use this means to limit them and get them trained. So these are non-punitive ways we can train our children. Now we also want to look at the punitive disciplines, ways we can use punishment to discipline our children. Now disciplining the children prepares them. It's very important to live long life. Yes, it's very important. You discipline them so that they can live long life. Things they do that are unhealthy for them, they need to be disciplined. Things that are dangerous, they need to be disciplined, which can help them live for long. So that they also know and follow God. You need to discipline them when they are going astray. They need to know and follow God. It's also very important. And then they need to be good citizens in society. So when you punish them, when they do what is wrong, it prepares them for all these areas. so that they'll be good citizens. They will know and be law abiding. They know that if you do this, it's punishment. When they go to school, they know that when I do this, I'll be punished. When they grow and they are working, they know that if I do this, there's punishment. All these things are very, very important. But chastening is also a form of communication. It's very important. Communication punishment to correct children. Example is like you rebuke them, chastening. When you do, the child does what is wrong, he needs to be chastened, to be rebuked. Now, so undisciplined children will be prone to continue in foolishness and never follow wisdom. And this is very important. So you need to discipline them. Because if you don't discipline them, they will live in their foolishness. They will think the foolishness is what is right, and they will live in their foolishness, and they will never follow wisdom. It takes hard work and perseverance through measured discipline to drive foolishness from a child. Yes, foolishness, it's easy for children to be foolish, but if you work hard to make sure that they are disciplined in a way right from infancy, they will grow and be disciplined. Now, we use punitive discipline as described in the Bible. There are two of them described in Bible, which is communication or rebuke, and then punishment. So the communication, the rebuke is you reprimand the child when he does what is wrong. If you have to sometimes maybe scream so that he will know what he's doing is wrong. If you have to use your hands, you rebuke him, not physically, okay, but in other ways, like you reprimand him when he does what is wrong. And then the punishment, that is the scourge, is where you use physical means to punish, or like a cane. If he does what is wrong, he's still in his foolishness, you use the cane to to scourge or to punish him. Those are the physical ones. So these two are very important. We need to use, either we are rebuking them when they are doing wrong, or if they still continue to live in that kind of life, then we can scourge them or punish them. Now, you expose children, you expose and explain and warn any wrongdoing. Yes. So in trying to use rebuke and scourges to discipline your children, you need to let them know. Let them get exposed and explain and warn them from any wrongdoing. They should understand what they have done is wrong, and therefore they understand they need to be rebuked, or they need to be scourged, and that would bring them right. Now, parents should lovingly punish to deter them if they continue to be disobedient, even as God does with us. It's very important that we should punish in love to deter them, so that they won't continue to be disobedient. And that is what God does with us. When you do what is wrong, God will punish us in a way. Sometimes God takes us through some kind of life we don't understand. Sometimes at work, because of some behavior, God will let you be under somebody for a long time, period, just to train you. So that is what, but in love. Children should be punished in love. Whatever punishment they receive from us, it should be in love, and they should understand and appreciate it. The secret to discipline is healthy balance between corrective communication and punishment. Yes. So in disciplining, it should be healthy. You should have the motive that you are correcting the child, not just punishment or not just hatred, but punishment. Not just punishment, but communication. It should be balanced.